What's up YouTube, how you doing? This is Mr. Tybox123, and in this video I'm going to be doing a direct comparison between the iPhone 4S, which has just come out, and the Samsung Galaxy S2, which has been out about 4 to 5 months. Now, just before I start, I just wanted to say I have done one of these videos before comparing the old iPhone 4 against the Samsung Galaxy S2, and a lot of the comments were just absolutely ridiculous, saying about being biased and being a fanboy and this, that and the other, and it's just a complete joke. I'm not biased towards Samsung, I'm not biased towards Apple. Anyone who is, without actually having a vested interest in the company, is just a complete moron. So this is a completely unbiased video. This is just my opinion. I don't prefer Apple, I don't prefer Samsung, I just buy the best device that I possibly can. And in this case, I've actually bought both. So anyway guys, let's get into this comparison and see how they fare. So the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to break it down into 10 sections. So we're going to start off with design, then we're going to go into storage, followed by battery life, then display, then performance, onto apps, then the cameras, into connectivity, then the operating system, and then we're going to finish off with the price, and then I'm going to actually give my opinion on which phone I think is better than the other phone and which one I prefer to use on a day-to-day basis. So anyway guys, let's head into round one and let's just talk a little bit about the design. So as you can see, we've got the phones directly here in front of us. Both attractive phones. In my opinion, the Apple is most definitely the more well-designed phone. It looks a lot nicer, it's a lot better built, and it's just got a lot more quality to it than the Samsung Galaxy S2 has. The Samsung Galaxy S2 is an attractive phone, especially when you're looking at it from the front, but when you start looking at the actual quality of the device, like the back for example, that there's been a lot of discussion about, it's just horrible and plasticky, and in fact the whole case is just like plasticky all over. Now at the end of the day, this is a phone, it's not a piece of jewellery or any kind of mechanical thing that really needs to have that much quality. So when it comes down to that, it really is preference as to whether you care about having a nicely designed quality phone or whether you don't. They both perform in very much the same way. Now let's just talk about the dimensions. The S2 is 125 by 66 by 8 millimeters, weighing in at 116 grams. The iPhone 4S is 115 by 58 by 9 millimeters, weighing in at 140 grams. So even though the iPhone 4 is actually a little bit smaller than the Samsung Galaxy S2, as you can see here, it's actually a reasonable amount heavier. Now when we're talking about the weight, a lot of people prefer having a bit of weight in their hand because it makes it feel like it's more quality. Some people, like me, I prefer a lighter device. I don't want to feel it in my pocket, I want it to be as light as possible. But anyway, in terms of round one, in terms of the design, I have to hand it to the iPhone 4S. Just because it's just such a beautifully crafted piece of kit, and it really has been taken a lot of time into actually thinking about the design and the look and the aesthetics of the device. So definitely round one in terms of design goes to the iPhone 4S. Now let's head into round two and talk about the storage. Now the iPhone 4S, this one in particular, is the 64GB version, and the Samsung Galaxy S2 here is the 16GB version, which is the only one. With the Samsung Galaxy S2 you can actually put an SD card in it, like one of these, and you can upgrade that up to 48GB by putting a 32GB storage card in it. The iPhone comes in 16, 32 and 64GB, therefore having the larger capacity available to it than the Samsung Galaxy S2. However, with the Samsung Galaxy S2 you could have a multitude of cards and carry those around with you, and then you've got the flexibility of having pretty much as much storage as you want. So in terms of storage, I've really got to hand that to the Samsung Galaxy S2 because it's just much more flexible. Even though you can buy a 64GB iPhone which has the higher capacity than you can have on the Galaxy S2, I would much prefer to be able to put some kind of SD card in the iPhone and give myself as much capacity as I actually want. So I'm going to hand that round to the Samsung Galaxy S2. Now let's head into round three and talk about the battery life. So the Samsung Galaxy S2 has a Li-ion battery, 1650 mAh battery, and the Apple iPhone 4S has a 1432 mAh LiPo battery. Now, in terms of the given standby and talk time, the standby time given about the Samsung Galaxy S2 on 3G is up to 610 hours. The talk time on 3G is up to 8 hours and 40 minutes. The given time on the iPhone 4S is up to a 200-hour standby time, and the talk time up to 8 hours. Now, given that the Samsung Galaxy S2 has a larger battery, and also that the figures that suggest that it would actually last longer, again, this round has to go to the Samsung Galaxy S2. And in fact, just to add to that, me using these phones now for a reasonable period of time, I can guarantee you that the Samsung Galaxy S2 battery does last that little bit longer than the iPhone 4S. So definitely, in terms of the battery life round, that's going to be going to the Samsung Galaxy S2. Now, let's just talk a little bit about the displays of both of these devices. Now, they both have absolutely stunning displays. So let's just start off with the Samsung Galaxy S2. It has a Super AMO LED plus capacitive touchscreen with 16 million colours, running 480 by 800 with a 4.3 inch screen, and that's a 217 ppi pixel density. Now, when we talk about the iPhone 4, it comes in at 640 by 960 pixels, and that's an LED backlit IPS TFT capacitive touchscreen, and that also has 16 million colours. Now, the iPhone 4S screen actually comes in at 3.5 inches and actually has a higher pixel density of 330, giving it that amazing Retina display. Outside of the specifications, in terms of the actual real life scenario usage of this, if we actually look at the screen itself, I don't know how clearly this is going to show up on camera, but when you actually zoom into any text, or even if you have it particularly tiny, you can still read the text perfectly on this Retina display, and it doesn't pixelate in any way whatsoever. Now, if we actually move over to the Samsung Galaxy S2, and let's just open up some kind of web page on here, you can see that just slightly the text is just not quite as clear as it is on the iPhone 4S, because it just doesn't have as high a pixel density as it does on the iPhone 4S. However, because the screen is actually larger, it is a fantastic screen to use, and also that Super AMO LED screen is just an absolute joy to look at in terms of the quality of the colours. So in terms of the screen, I would say that the actual iPhone 4S definitely has the better screen, but then the Galaxy S2 has the larger screen. Now, in terms of which one I would rather have, I would personally prefer to have the iPhone 4 screen, because I just much prefer that pixel density when you're reading large web pages with small text on a small screen. But then, because of the larger screen on the S2, it doesn't affect it as much. So in this round, I've got to call it a draw between both of the devices, both having absolutely beautiful screens. Moving on into round 5, now here we're going to talk about the performance. Now, in terms of the specifications, the iPhone 4S has a 1 GHz dual-core ARM Cortex-A9 processor in an Apple A5 chipset. The Samsung Galaxy S2 has a dual-core 1.2 GHz ARM Cortex-A9 processor, and in fact in some models goes up to 1.5 GHz. Now, looking at some benchmarks here, if we look at this Rightware browser mark, you can see the iPhone 4S comes in at 89,567 and the Samsung Galaxy S2 comes in at 55,000. So that's nearly half as slow as the iPhone 4S, and you can also see a list of all of the other phones in that benchmark as well. Now, into the GL benchmark, which looks at the actual frames per second in terms of graphics performance. Again, we can see the iPhone 4S coming in at 73.1 and the Samsung Galaxy S2 coming in at 42.5. So again, in terms of performance, the iPhone really does completely obliterate the S2. Now, if we actually look at the SunSpider JavaScript benchmark results, and the lower one is actually better here, again we can see that the iPhone 4S significantly outperforms the Samsung Galaxy S2. Now, in terms of real life performance, how does this actually affect real life performance? Well, let's just do a couple of small tests of like the day-to-day things that we might actually be doing here. And you can see they both pretty much launch in the same time. One might be a fraction faster than the other, but you're not really going to notice that. If we actually go into, for example, the settings, again, pretty much the same. In fact, I think the ES2 was just slightly faster there to open the actual settings up. If we go into something like, for example, the maps, you can see, in fact, on that one, the iPhone 4S did open up a little bit quicker than the Samsung Galaxy S2. But the point being, in terms of actual day-to-day usage, there really isn't any difference whatsoever. The one time that the iPhone 4S probably will come into its own slightly is in terms of graphics performance, when you're maybe playing games, etc. So in terms of the actual performance round, although all of the benchmarks seem to suggest that the iPhone 4S actually obliterates the Samsung Galaxy S2, again, I've got to give it a draw, because day-to-day usage, I really don't think you're going to find that there's that much of a difference whatsoever. I certainly don't. When I'm navigating around the devices, I don't notice that one is any faster than the other in any way whatsoever. So that's going to be a draw in that round. Now let's talk about the apps. Well, in terms of the on-built applications that you get with either device, I think that they're fairly equal. In the iPhone 4S, you get a great deal of like really nice inbuilt applications with the maps, the messaging, etc. And now we also get iMessage and Siri and all those kind of things. Now in terms of the Samsung Galaxy S2, you get things like Keys Air, which are a really nice application. You get the voice activation stuff as well from Vlingo, which is fairly similar to that of Siri. So in terms of the actual inbuilt applications, they're very, very similar. In terms of the actual applications which are available either via the App Store or via the Google Marketplace, most definitely the App Store wins all day long. So in terms of the apps round, because the App Store is significantly more fulfilled than that of the Android Marketplace, I've got to hand that round to the iPhone, because there's just so many more apps available to it. So round 6 there, going to the iPhone 4S. Now let's just talk about the cameras. Both of these devices now have an 8 megapixel camera running at 3264 by 2448 pixels. Both of them have autofocus and both have an LED flash. They both have things like geotagging, touch focus, and also smile and face detection. Now they both record at 1080p at 30 frames per second, and they both have a front-facing camera. Now the front-facing camera on the Samsung Galaxy S2 is 2 megapixel, whereas the one on the iPhone 4S is only a VGA camera. Now in terms of the actual cameras themselves, they're both very similar quality, and I have actually done a video recently which I'll put a link up there with actually comparing the video quality between both of these products, and they both come out very, very similar. Now one thing I will say is that when you go into the camera itself, the iPhone 4S does have the nice ability to have the one touch take a picture button on the side there. Even when the phone is locked, you can do that, and the Samsung Galaxy S2 doesn't have that. However, one of the massive benefits I feel that the Galaxy S2 has over and above the iPhone 4 is the ability to be able to completely configure everything about the camera, from the ISO to the exposure value, etc, etc. And me really being into photography, I really like the ability to do that. Plus the slightly larger screen gives it a little bit nicer kind of usage ability. But the iPhone 4S has got this new image stabilization, and that really does make a huge difference when you're out taking videos and even actually taking photos if you're in a kind of moving environment. So I think comparing them both side by side, they both have the advantages and disadvantages, but I'm going to have to give the camera round a draw again. So in this round, round 7, it's going to be another draw. So let's head into round 8 and talk about the connectivity. Now the Samsung Galaxy S2 has got 3G and 4G in a newer version, and even in the 3G version the HSDPA goes up to 21 megabits per second. In the iPhone 4S the HSDPA only goes up to 14.4 megabits per second. However, the iPhone 4S has CDMA and the Samsung Galaxy S2 does not. So kind of twos and fro's there about which one's better than the other. In terms of Bluetooth, the iPhone 4S has version 4, the Samsung Galaxy S2 has version 3. In terms of Wi-Fi, they both have 802.11a, b, g and also n, and they also have the ability to do Wi-Fi hotspot as well. So in terms of connectivity, I'm really going to have to give this round a complete draw again, because both of these devices have both got kind of equal connectivity. So in terms of connectivity, I think they both pretty much equal themselves out. So again, in this round, I'm going to have to give it a draw. Now let's head into round 9 and talk about the actual operating system itself. The iPhone 4S running iOS version 5, brand new out, and the Samsung Galaxy S2 running Android version 2.3 gingerbread. Now in terms of the operating systems, this always kicks up a lot of debate. Now the Android operating system, people talk about it being more flexible because you can have things like widgets. Now for example, that mail widget there, I never use the mail widget. It's a complete waste of time. I can just click the button on the front and go to a completely fully functioning mail application. It's nice to have this little weather thing, I suppose, that kind of gives it a nice little edge there, and I do like the ability to just click the multitasking there and kill off all my applications. In terms of the iOS operating system, it's just a much cleaner interface. It's much easier to use and much more simple, but then again, you can't make it look quite as attractive as you can with the Android. However, I do think that that attractiveness is just a complete waste of time in terms of actual functionality, because I just don't ever use it. Now the one thing that iOS 5 has that Android doesn't is the fact that it actually connects to all of these different infrastructures which Apple has built in terms of iCloud, iTunes, the App Store, connects to Macs, PCs, and not just in a small way but in a completely highly integrated way, which just give it that much higher level of flexibility and integration. So we could go on all day about which operating system is the best. I find that iOS is just more stable, it's got a lot more features, and also it's just a nicer operating system to use. I find it a lot smoother to use and a lot more simple as well. So in this round, I'm actually going to give this round to iOS 5 because I just think it's that little bit much more advanced. The next versions of Android, maybe they'll make it a bit more stable, a bit smoother, and then it might actually catch up to iOS 5. But for now, I'm going to have to give the operating system round to the iPhone 4S. Now let's move into round 10 and talk about the price. Now you can actually pick up the Samsung Galaxy S2 in the UK for about £420 including VAT, and you can, that's the 16GB version. In terms of the iPhone 4S, you're going to be looking at a basic starting price of £499. So definitely the iPhone 4S is going to be more expensive than the Samsung Galaxy S2. There's no two ways about it. So this round has got to go to the Samsung Galaxy S2 just purely because it's cheaper. Now this is going to be my conclusion, so I'm just going to talk about my opinion here. I've got both of these phones, paid full price for both of them, and actually my personal phone of choice is most definitely the iPhone 4. I much prefer using this device. I much prefer the smoothness of it and the way that it integrates so nicely into the Mac operating system, and you've got the App Store and you've got iTunes, and it's all using one account. There's no third-party software. You know, you don't have to have separate accounts for different things like a Samsung account, a Marketplace account, etc. Everything's all there, comes from that one ID, and I just much prefer the iPhone in terms of the build quality. It's just such a nice phone to hold in your hand, and everything always works. Whereas with the Android, I find that quite often things crash. It says that I have to force close an application, etc, etc. And although I do love the Samsung Galaxy S2 phone, I think it's an awesome bit of kit. And I'm really disappointed, in fact, with the iPhone 4S that it didn't have a bigger screen and a complete redesign. My personal preference in terms of my main phone, and I use two, one personal, one for work, I tend to use my iPhone a lot more than I do the Samsung Galaxy S2. And now with the new notifications as well, which are a lot more flexible and usable than they are on the Samsung Galaxy S2, it just gives it the edge. So for me personally, I actually much prefer the iPhone 4S over the Samsung Galaxy S2. Anyway guys, thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, subscribe for more, and I'll see you all in the next one. See ya.